We are live, baby. It's Sunday morning, baby. It's a good morning. Oh, baby. It's episode 100.
I didn't make sure to be recording.
It's all right. It's the thought that counts, Sean. It's the thought that counts. But we are live for episode 100. Justin's wearing his Hawaii. Aloha, my friend. John's got his little kazoo. It had a little bit of a failure, but you know, we're working through it. And what has Brandon got? A brand new. Look at this fresh jersey. Look at this fresh jersey, John. Justin, look at this. Look at this.
It is nice.
Look at the number. You know the number?
Yeah, I do.
Who is that? Say his name.
No.
Timothy Butler. Now I think I said on this show, I might have said it off air to you guys. Oh, before I get into that, everybody, don't forget, if you're watching now, please like, subscribe, share the content. Come join us on social media. Follow us all on our accounts. We love to have it. We love the interaction. But I think I said on this show or off air to you guys that I will get a Jimmy Butler jersey if we beat the Knicks. Because we have to beat. I love Jimmy, but it was just like something with me. We can't lose to the Knicks, right? I ordered this. I don't have the exact day in front of me, but I think about 5 or 6 days ago. So it was either 1-0 or whatever. The reason, I think it was actually after game 1. And the reason I purchased this, Justin, John, and fans watching, is because Jimmy Butler did something in game 1 that not a lot of players in the NBA currently would have done. And that's stay in the game when his ankle touched the freaking floor. I want to use something more vulgar, but you get what I'm saying. All right. And that is not hyperbole, people. That is a fact. Ankle touched the floor. All right. And then coming back in game 3, it's just, I expected what I expected. Timothy Butler is him. But before I get into that, John, Justin, Sunday morning, episode 100. Before we get into the topic list, how y'all doing?
Happy Sunday. I like the jersey. I thought it was a good time to purchase it with the series being unofficially over. And also, excited to talk some basketball with you two today. It's going to be a fun, exciting day.
I woke up this morning in an excellent mood, episode 100. I'm happy to be doing this with you guys, but I also didn't expect to just be getting gunshots fired at me so early this morning. So, yeah, good morning, I guess. Good morning.
Yes, guten Morgen, as they say over in Germany, I believe. Kind of be messed up because I am German, but neither here nor there. We're going to get into the Miami Heat versus the New York Knicks. My Miami Heat taking a 2-1 lead. Jimmy Butler, valiant effort. Are the Knicks? I'm not going to say that word. No. Is the series over? We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the Lakers versus the Warriors. Game 2 and Game 3 happened since we last talked to you guys. Crazy. Game 2, blowout in Golden State's favor. Game 3, blowout in Lakers' favor. Is this going to continue? We're going to discuss it for you guys. The Celtics-Sixers Game 3 reactions. Are the Sixers cooked? Are they done? Is it over? And then finally, for basketball content, we're going to get into the Suns versus the Nuggets Game 3 reactions. The Suns win a game. Is it still a series? Can they make a comeback? I'm not very confident, but we're going to get into that. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with a big card in John's home state, UFC 288 in New Jersey. It was a big night. It was a successful night. Had a great main event, the return of Henry Cejudo taking on Aljamain Sterling. I'm going to have some things I got to say. I kind of disagree with the result of the main event, but we're going to get into that later. So let's just jump right into it. And I'm going to be kind. I'm going to let Justin go first. So Justin, because here's the thing, people. There was a lot of talk going into Game 3. There was a lot of talk going into Game 1 and Game 2, to be honest with you. Between me and Justin, a lot of things were said. Toughness was questioned of my team, which I found utterly disrespectful.
It was questioned.
Some other things were said too, but we don't have to get into that because Justin's going to address some things. But I didn't hear from Justin all Saturday, basically. Until the end. And maybe he's going to, he was doing something, he had previous commitments, but I didn't hear from him.
That's the only reason why. So to the fans out there, I play in a men's baseball and adult league, baseball league. This is my team right here, the Hurricanes. So I had a prior commitment, so I could not sit down, and unfortunately, I couldn't sit there and watch the entire game. So I'm not complaining.
Sure.
But I was able to look back. I watched highlights, game recaps, all of that. And I am not going to sit here and overreact. I'm not. Because going into the series, we all agreed that it would be a dogfight. These two teams played every regular season game, tough and tight. Going into it, you know what you're expecting out of Coach Spo. And yesterday was very evident of the coaching masterclass that Eric Spoelstra put on yesterday, and how much he's been running circles around Coach Tibbs. While Tibbs has made some adjustments from the Cleveland series, we haven't been able to see the adjustments in the Miami series just yet. One thing that really bothers me is we haven't seen our starting lineup of Brunson, Grimes, RJ, Julius, and Mitch. A lineup that I believe was plus 72 on the floor together. I think that, now granted, we haven't seen that because of Grimes' injuries in the first round, so he's getting back. But I would love to see that maybe even go smaller every now and then, letting Obi take the floor instead of Mitch, just to allow Brunson and Randall to operate with a little bit more space. I think the lanes are clogged. I don't think, one, the shots aren't falling. And unfortunately, we had a big opportunity yesterday when Miami is shooting 21% from three, as opposed to how they were in games 1 and 2. We missed a huge opportunity because while they shot 21%, John, can you tell me how much we shot for?
20% from 3.
Exactly. 0 for 5 from 3 from Julius, 0 for 5 from 3 from Brunson. You know, I remember jokes during the middle of the season calling our big three the mid three, and they're living up to that name from game 3 and game 1. So I really am not going to overreact and say, hey, this series is over. Absolutely not. I do think we take game 4 in Miami. I do think this comes back to New York. Like I said, I told you guys, Miami isn't going to shoot the ball like that every single night. And unfortunately, we just didn't capitalize on it. I do believe we're a tough squad. We're just as tough as you guys. And I'm going to stick by my stance. I really do believe we're a tougher team than y'all. I just think we have not found the pieces yet to get this thing rolling. We're playing very inconsistent. And it's kind of tough when, you guys are changing your schemes this series while we're sticking with the same schemes in the regular season. That's very easy to pick up for. That's lunch for Coach Spo. Emmanuel quickly needs to step up. Grimes needs to step up. I'm not going to overreact. I'll start panicking when it's 3-1.
Well, speaking on quickly, I think he sprained his ankle, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
He might be done for the series, to be honest with you, or at least be gone for game 4. I think. But I told you about Emmanuel last episode, and there was no disrespect to him. He's a very good young player, but he's not ready for this moment. I just saw it. Listen, the shots are just not falling for him. He's young. He'll be back. He'll be back. He'll be better. But he's not. It's just sometimes you're not ready for the moment, and that's okay. Other people, Julius Randle is not built for the playoffs. Listen, I don't want to say he's James Harden-esque, but I think we're kind of seeing, like, I don't know how many times I got to say, if you're great in the regular season and your numbers come down in the playoffs, I hold that against you greatly, because I hold the playoffs in the highest regard, because it is the purest form of high-level basketball out there. And I'm that's where all my chips are, basically. I've told you guys, I think, honestly, I'd give it, I think I said 70-30 of playoffs I care about more than the regular season. I think I'd probably come back down to that, maybe 65-60-40, just to give a little respect. But I truly do, like, the sentiment is there. You understand where I'm coming from. I care more about the playoffs than the regular season by a lot. So for Julius Randle, this is it's starting to become, this is not an exception, Justin. This is the rule. He's not good in the playoffs. He's a tough shot maker, and those shots are not falling. He's not a consistent shooter. We're seeing that. I mean, he had his – I said it to you. Game 2 was his best playoff game of his career. He reverted back. Jalen Brunson, look at the numbers, has not been shooting well from three this playoffs. He's had about, I think, 2 good games from three, maybe 3 if I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but maybe 3. He's RJ Barrett. We love that you're taking 7 threes a game. You don't understand how much I love that. That is like when Trae Young pulls up from 3. I'm like, yes, thank you. Keep shooting those because that's what we want. There's a reason you are open. You're Toppin ain't, his threes ain't falling either. He has been shooting like shit from 3 the entire playoffs.
I'll be honest.
Second best shooter currently.
I absolutely, it really grinds my gears when I see him chucking up 11 threes like he did not too long ago.
Because he's open.
And guys like Quickly and Grimes not getting those opportunities to shoot, or also just not shooting, period.
Well, no, Quickly's getting his shots. They're not going.
To be fair to Toppin, he had to take those looks because he was replacing a guy in Randall who takes 8.5 attempts per game from deep.
Oh, that's fair.
If you don't take those, then like you're kind of failing your job.
And he's wide open. And
You're
you're not a starter, but you are a contributor on a playoff team. You should be able to make open 3-point shots. Like that is just, he's shot what, 34%, 35% for his career, I think, somewhere around there.
Yeah, he was drafted at 8 in space of 4, largely.
I've just always felt his value can be felt more elsewhere.
Interior, yeah. I get you, but he's being left open from 3, and he's probably a confident player, maybe a little too self-confident there, and you're not. There's a reason you're wide open. There is, and we didn't even have one of our, like you said, Justin. Miami shot like crap from 3. Kevin Love 0 for 3, Butler 0 for 2, Strus 3 for 10, Vincent 0 for 4, Duncan Robinson 1 for 5, Caleb Martin 0 for 3. That's terrible.
Yep.
So listen, I told you this after game 2. We are clearly the better team. And you asked, how do you see that, Brandon? How? Well, asked and answered. Asked and answered. You said, how am I so confident? Because I'm going to tell you this right now, Justin. If not for Jimmy's ankle touching the floor, Miami would be up 3-0. 3-0. You know that. I know you know that in the deepest part of your heart and soul. You know that to be a fact. How great we played against you in game 2 and how barely you beat us in game 2. If Jimmy Butler, the best player on the court, either teams, is on that court, you're losing that game.
Maybe.
No, maybe. 3-0. You'd be down. Okay? You're not winning game 4. I don't know where this is. You Knicks fans are freaking delusional right now. Where you're seeing, are the shots just going to start falling? No, they're not. You had one good game. I'm going to give you game 5. I'm going to respect you and give you game 5. But it's over in 6, like I said. And don't let us get greedy. Because if we want to get greedy, we'll take game 5 and end your season in Madison Square Garden. Done.
Okay.
I hate to break it to you, Justin, but it's been a great year for the Knicks. But right now, it's just pretty head-scratching that Josh Hart's starting. In the regular season, the Knicks starting lineup with Josh Hart in it was a minus 9.5 points per 100 possessions, which is pretty terrible. But when Quentin Grimes in that lineup, it was a plus 9 points per 100 possessions. And now Grimes is playing through this shoulder injury, and now quickly he's down too. That's 2 of your best young players. And the issue ultimately is Josh Hart is a reserve. He's not a starter on a playoff team. And he's going to do a lot of really good things, right? The rebounding, transition playmaking. Occasionally he'll make a corner 3. But when the Heat are leaving him wide open to then double team, and it's kind of a 4 and 5 offensively, and he's just looking to pass out to his Villanova teammate, you're like, well, that's the reason why you got him for, Cam Reddish and a protected first-round pick. Josh Hart's viewed as this integral piece the Knicks must keep whatever costs. And yeah, that's true, but, not as a starter. When I look at this group, part of their spacing concerns, which is why I thought it was a terrible trade in the first place, have shown this postseason. They can't shoot. And I also think Jalen Brunson, man, he can't do everything. He's been really good all year long, but when you're getting double teamed and your teammates aren't making shots, they're forcing the ball in your hands, there's only so much you can control as the point guard.
And he's hurt.
And he's also not 100% either, as Brandon just noted. But there's also one last point. I think Julius Randle has officially done it. I think he's taken the throne from DeMar DeRozan as the worst playoff performer I've ever seen in my life. I understand he's planted his ankle injury and he's one of the toughest guys in the league. But this is potentially a two-time All-NBA performer to many people, right? I don't think he is that, but people vote him as such. He plays in New York, right? People said this year, I didn't agree with this, that he was the next best player. We knew he wasn't. We were aware in the playoffs, his tough shot making and his control, he can't handle pressure. Whenever he gets double teamed, he loses his handle. He makes errant passes. He's a methodical player that can't handle pressure. That's a pretty big issue. Jimmy Butler will play methodical, but he controls the tempo. Devin Booker does as well. But Randall's not that efficient, reliable shot maker. And we're seeing the playoffs, one series after another, and 3 years apart, 2 years apart. The guy's just not built for this, man. And he actually, Brandon, I forgot, though, he averaged 30 points per game versus the Heat in the regular seasons. That's what matters.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So, which is, a great thing to put your hat into, yeah, the 30 points of the regular season, yeah. There's not much more. I mean, I believe the series is over. From what I'm guessing is John also believes the series. John, what do you think? Is it 5 or do you think the Knicks go 6?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's 5 if Quickly's out because this Knicks bench is non-existent damn near right now. I do think, though, it's not going to 5, will it?
I mean, we didn't think the Bucks series went into 5, especially when Giannis came back. Justin, Knicks fan?
I'm still going to roll with my pick. I don't
7?
see myself backing away now. I'm going 7. I think it's
You're
going to be a
down with the
dogfight. But also at the same time, I do need to see something different. I do need to see a lot of energy. John said the bench really doesn't have much to offer. And part of what made our team so special in the regular season was that our bench had so much to offer. So getting guys in like Deuce, getting guys in I would prefer Hart coming off of the bench because that second unit lacks so much explosiveness without him there. So I would throw him back into the bench, maybe throw Grimes into the starting lineup again and see how that lineup that brought us so much success rolls. I want to see Deuce out there. I would love to see guys like Jericho Sims isn't seeing any time, but he was collecting offensive rebounds so much during the regular season. It was wild. But we need different looks. We need a different approach out there. And, I'm lying that I didn't see a single second of the game. When I was driving to my baseball game yesterday, I saw maybe 2 minutes of the first quarter. And, bro, the defense by Miami was just hounding us on every single possession. And we have to make an adjustment. We've got to counter. We got to punch them in the mouth early in game 4 and get this thing going back to MSG with a 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
So, quick stat on game 3. The Knicks never led in that game. And I'm going to ask a question to you, Justin, and then we can move on. As the resident Knicks fan, hindsight's 20/20. I know you're going down with the ship.
Yeah.
Did the Knicks make a mistake not trading for Donovan Mitchell?
It's so weird to say that after we literally just knocked him out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say anything about that. I think butterfly effect. We lose him, we lose something else. I think we're in a good position the way that we are, and it just wasn't meant to be. Maybe Donovan Mitchell, kind of like Carmelo Anthony, comes to us in a different way. How Melo should have came to us in free agency. Maybe we get Donovan Mitchell if he doesn't re-sign with Cleveland.
Donovan Mitchell
that would be much better.
Is a unrestricted free agent in 2026, but keep in mind he's a player option. So people don't want to acknowledge this, but Donovan Mitchell kind of only has 2 years left in his contract.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks could save all their draft assets and parlay that into something maybe better, right? Who knows? Maybe they want to upgrade in the front court, and that right there would be quite the luxury, knowing Donovan might want to just return back home in 2 years.
That could be the case.
A lot of reports have even said that he may have no plans re-signing with Cleveland because he wants to be in New York.
Right. I mean, Stephen A. even said it. He didn't report on it, but he basically when when Stephen A says certain things in a certain tone, I kind of like take the hint, like, okay, he's kind of telling us something that he knows. Is like Donovan Mitchell did not want to go to Cleveland. He wanted to be in New York. And it's just he was being traded, so he had to go to Cleveland. Yeah. But moving on. I know that was a tough segment for Justin, but it's okay.
Brandon, I do want to ask you.
Till Monday.
Are the Miami Heat making the finals?
Ooh. Isn't that an interesting question, isn't it? Curiouser. The Boston Celtics were my preseason pick, weren't they, huh? To go to the finals. And I've stayed pat with that all the way through the regular season and even into the playoffs when we made our predictions. I do believe they are the best team in the East. In the whole NBA, I think I can make that case pretty much that they are the best team in the NBA still. That is going to be a tough-ass series, especially with the fact that Tyler Hero is not there. I'm not going to be this Miami Heat fan that realizes that we didn't get a good draw, right? I thought getting the full disclosure, going into the end of the regular season, I was kind of begging for us to get that 6 seed, right? Because I wanted to go against Philadelphia. That was the matchup I wanted because I saw vulnerability and I thought we can beat Philadelphia in the first round. And I still 100% believed we could have beat Philadelphia in the first round if we got that 6 seed. We fumbled the bag towards the end of the regular season, losing too many games, and we got the 7 seed. We lose to the Hawks. And I'm like, well, we're going up against Milwaukee, right? We're screwed. They're the number 1 seed. We haven't been playing well. And then events happen. Giannis goes down. Tyler Hero goes down. And we're able to, show that, listen, we got the best player on the court. And as long as that's the case, we got a shot. Giannis comes back. He comes back maybe a little bit too late. Series is over. Now we pull the Knicks. I feel very comfortable, like I said, going into the series against the Knicks because I just don't believe that they are that team. The Celtics is a different animal. They are that team. Are we going to get another, good draw where Brown or Tatum gets injured? I'm not hoping that. Knock on wood that it doesn't happen because I'd love to play, a team at their best, but we're not at our best. We haven't been at our best because Tyler Hero, our second best scorer, is not on the court. So you ask, is Miami going to the finals? I say to be continued.
Real quick, I think they can. They don't have home court advantage this year, and they're missing 2 of their starting shooting guards because one's hurt. His backup's hurt, and Victor Oladipo. But look, while the Celtics are better this year than last year, I don't think Tatum's a more proven playoff performer. Jimmy Butler is playing his best basketball at the age of 33. I watched him drop 56 points in the Milwaukee Bucks team, so myself as well. The Celtics don't like the double team. And that was what got Jimmy going in round 1 versus the Bucks, going 1-on-1 versus Drew Holiday. And you look at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, while 2 very high-level defenders, they have the reputation as such. This year, they haven't been elite on that end of the floor. Derek White's not necessarily big enough to guard him. And I would say Marcus Smart kind of can, but Jimmy's going to shoot right over him. And if he's making jump shots, the Miami Heat can beat the Boston Celtics. And part of my reasoning for that, too, is that Kyle Lowry, man, is playing really well. Kevin Love, even when he's not making shots, in transition, him and Lowry, I mean, those are 2 of the best outlet passers in the game right there. Defensively, you've got so many different tough wings that are, let's be honest, Justin, if they're not tougher than the Knicks, they're just as tough. Half of this team's undrafted. Gabe Vincent has balls of steel. And then you talk about Max Strus and Duncan Robinson. When their shots are falling, I think this Miami team is super deadly. But where it all starts and where it all finishes is Jimmy Butler gets more of the role players around him than any other star in the NBA. And I think that's the exact reason why I trust Miami more than I do Boston. The superstar who always overachieves, the best coach in the league, and the squad that is tougher than Boston. Boston's tough, but I don't trust Jason Tatum. And I think that could be the end of their season.
That's a good point. Listen,
if there's any team that can knock off Boston and Philadelphia, it's going to be Miami.
Because I'm going to say this. I teams left in the East, right? New York Knicks, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers. This might be a sacrilegious thing to say, but I don't give a fuck. I'm going to say it because I goddamn believe it. Jimmy Butler is the best player left in the Eastern Conference.
For the playoffs, I would agree with you.
Yeah, I said left in the Eastern Cup. Well, those 4 teams, I just named them. Those 4. Yeah, Jimmy Butler is better than Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid, and Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle.
I mean, I feel like that's unfair because Embiid has been.
Regardless, I have him. I'll throw up my rankings. I've had Jimmy Butler over Joel Embiid even when he was healthy because guess what? He's never healthy. That's my main concern with Joel Embiid. And I've always believed this. If you're a big man, especially in today's NBA, it is much easier to phase you out in the final minutes of the game because you're not a guard and you can't really – I know they can initiate their own offense, but it's just different. They have to get the ball to them, throw it into and then do. So it's just for me, it's much easier to take them out of the game. So when you got Jimmy Butler and he's just going to take the ball up the court and he can create his own offense, initiate everything himself, and he's done it.
Brandon, Embiid for his career averages more turnovers than assists in the playoffs.
That's pretty bad.
And he hasn't developed that trait of passing out double teams. But also, you want to know something fun? Out of all of these superstars to stars left in the Eastern Conference, regular season wise, I would say Jimmy Butler's like the 4th or 5th best player. You'd go Embiid, Tatum, Randall, Brown, and then Jimmy,
Brunson,
right?
Maybe Brunson too. Yep.
Maybe Brunson, right? He had just as good, if not better, season than Butler. But in the playoffs, Jimmy is the utmost competitor.
Yeah.
Thank you, number 1.
So moving on to the next topic, we got Lakers versus Warriors. Games 2 and 3 happened since we were gone. Like I alluded to in the beginning of the show, Game 2 was a blowout in Golden State's favor. Game 3 was a blowout in the Lakers' favor. What's going on, John? Justin.
One quick thing. Tell Romaine in the comments because it's not letting me comment back to leave me alone. I don't want to talk to him right now.
Oh, sure. It won't let you comment back to Romaine. Sure.
Right? It won't let me comment back.
Sheesh. Yeah, just to ask all. Oh, I did want to ask all the Knicks fans if you're in the chat, if you watch this video, how you doing? But John, I kick it to you. What's going on with this series, Lakers versus Warriors?
What a big win last night for the Lakers. You go up, you dominate on your home floor, 30-point victory. And what really stood out early was D'Angelo Russell came in, guys, and he just couldn't miss the first 4 possessions. And from that point, the game was always in Los Angeles' favor. LeBron didn't score in the first quarter, but later on in the game, he had 13 points in this one transition and got going in that area of the floor where, look, this Lakers team at their ceiling's probably the best team in the Western Conference. Anthony Davis defensively is one of the most dominant rim protectors and enforcers we've ever seen, right? But the element for the Lakers that's always been unknown was the supporting cast from the perimeter on offense. You look at D'Lo, and he kind of is a wild card. But over the last 4 games, he started to play. Now, this is 2 or 3 really good playoff games. And the question with D'Angelo is never his high-end outcome, how well he can play at the peak of it, because he's top 10, top 12 point guard, one of the better players at the position when he's hitting. The question was when D'Lo's not playing well. And it kind of felt like versus Memphis, he got that out the way, and the play-in tournament too. But now for the Lakers, D'Lo's starting to turn on at the perfect time. And then you look at that bench. One thing Darvin Ham finally did yesterday, I don't know why he took him out the rotation, was put Lonnie Walker back in. He came in, and his 24 minutes was a +10. He was great in transition. He brings in that speed. I honestly think he's a better player for the rotation than Troy Brown, who is the better defender than Lonnie. But I really like for this Los Angeles team, knowing Golden State wants to beat them in transition, but then giving them the reverse actually we want to play more in transition. And we're going to put Lonnie Walker out there. And with Austin Reeves having his worst playoff game so far last night, he was still the highest player in their team in plus-minus, but he didn't make a single shot in the first couple of quarters. It ultimately came down to that Lakers bench giving the spark that they needed. And yesterday for the Warriors was probably the worst game you'll see them play. 29% from three-point range is uncharacteristic, but the Warriors are going to have games in series where the bench doesn't come to play, Steph Curry's got too much on his plate, and Draymond Green's not setting the tone. And yesterday was a bad Draymond Green game, another one. And game 2 is much better. I think the ultimate thing here is, guys, Draymond has to be much better in this series for the Warriors to win because you can't really play 2 bigs versus the Lakers. Anthony Davis is then going to sit in the paint. And they've tried this JaMychal Green thing, which worked for 12 minutes in game 2. But then yesterday we saw, wait, you can't actually start JaMychal Green consistently in the playoffs. So I'll give you a couple of good games maybe, but he's not a reliable starter. And his floor spacing, he went, let me guess, I think he went 1 of 4 yesterday. Yeah, he went 0 of 3 from three-point range in his 11 minutes. They quickly went away from it because defensively he's not ideal either. So the ultimate X factor for Golden State, and the reason I have Golden State still winning the series is because Draymond Green will play better. Defensively, I think he will step up. He's one of the best matchups for Draymond in the NBA. I don't care if he's 5 inches shorter. He's got the wingspan and the girth to him. He's also just one of the smartest defenders in the post. They're going to really, I think for the Lakers, they're going to be forced to consistently hit mid-range shots. And while they were playing a lot better yesterday, they're making their shots in the mid-range area, and LeBron's getting out in transition. The Lakers also shot 48%, 15 of 31 from three-point range. And I don't expect that to continue, right? Last night for me might be the last game. It's not a hot take to say that last night might be the last win the Lakers get in the series, maybe. But I'm still really high on this Golden State team. I don't think the Lakers will consistently play this well off of LeBron. And I'm expecting Steph Curry to have himself a much better night than he did in Game 3.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, John. I don't think what we saw from the Warriors last night is what we're going to see the rest of the way. A team that shoots so much, they're going to have some off nights. Like you said, when Steph has to shoulder the load, sometimes it's not going to go well for you. But I did mention before in our last episode that AD is the X factor for the Lakers. Straight up, he's the X factor. And if he's on, the Lakers will win games. And the one game that he's been off, they did lose. And AD is lucky that there was so much going on in sports that nobody was out there to critique him for his crappy-ass game that he played. But he brought it in Game 3, Lakers up 2-1. But my question to you guys is, this is the first time that we're seeing a postseason where LeBron isn't the primary handler of the ball. Like, he's not going out there trying to score 30 points a game right now. This is a different version of LeBron that we're seeing in the postseason. Can the Lakers win with LeBron being like that?
Well, I think that is what this Lakers team has kind of tried to build around is LeBron off ball. What they've tried this entire time. I mean, if you remember in the bubble, it was Rajon Rondo really took a lot of pressure off LeBron James as the primary ball handler and initiator of the offense, because LeBron in his older years, he has always wanted to get off the ball a little bit, take his breath, take some breaks, get those knees healthier, and take your quote unquote timeouts throughout the sequence of the game, which the veterans really know how to do very well. Can they be successful? I think the playoffs is kind of your asked and answered part of this, because I was literally going to come out here and say, listen, man, I think it's pretty obvious the Lakers go as AD goes. You spoke on it. It goes to the last series. Every odd game or every other game, AD would have a bad game, then he'd have a good game. I know there's 2 games they didn't play well. I think it was Game 6 and Game 4, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't play particularly well, and they still won.
Mm-hmm.
But usually it goes, if AD's on, they win. If he's not, they lose. So my point is to say all that is the biggest threat to the Lakers' success this playoffs is Anthony Davis. Because on the other side as well, it's a double-edged sword. The only way they succeed is Anthony Davis. So you ask this question, can they be successful without LeBron as the primary ball handler if Anthony Davis is on 100%? Because I think the question is being ready to be asked, is Anthony Davis the best player on the Los Angeles Lakers? And I think the answer is yes. And
the answer is yes.
Yeah, and the only reason I say that, and I know there's pushback on that, and I get the pushback because Anthony Davis's motor runs not full throttle as you would want it to, right?
I don't think
not LeBron James.
LeBron is also and LeBron is, we've seen the ability to drive while it's there in moments. He can't do it as much as he used to.
He's coming off a torn tendon in his foot.
Yes, that too, but also 38, year 20. He wants to be more of a shooter. It's kind of like what Kobe became, Michael became, Magic became later in their careers. They became more shooters. They didn't want to drive and take that contact and that beating every night. It's just too much on your body. So, yeah, I think Anthony Davis is the best player on the Lakers, and the Lakers go as Anthony Davis goes. And I know John said they shot well from 3 in game 3. They don't shoot the 3 ball very much. You look at it, 44 for Golden State and 31 for the Lakers. The Lakers succeed and they're at their best when they're creating content creating that too, right? Because they are a big market franchise. They got to sell tickets and whatnot. The Lakers are at their best when they create contact, draw fouls, and are attacking the basket, right? When they're settling for threes, they're not a successful team because they're not a three-point shooting team. You can look at Vanderbilt's not a good three-point shooter. LeBron's not. AD's not. It's just
Reeves, Loki is not.
Yeah. So Reeves, Loki. I mean, he's made himself into a better three-point shooter, but he's still not, knocked down. Yeah. And I think John, you made this point, but if you didn't, the Lakers defense might be the best in the NBA left. And you spoke. I know you did speak on Anthony. Anthony Davis might be the best defender in the NBA when his motor is running full throttle, because his interior rim protection is next level. How many blocks does he have this playoffs? Over 30, I think already. I think he had 26 in the Memphis series, so I think he's got to have at least 30 now. Anthony Davis, man, I've heard it from the Shaqs to the Charles to the Kennys to the everybody, Stephen A's and Skips and Shannon Sharps, everybody from former players, Hall of Famers, not Hall of Famers, JJ Redick, to sports pundits, historians, fans, whatever. So it's not. Listen, everybody's not crazy because we're all saying the same thing. Anthony Davis, your motor runs low. It does, and this is not an insult. This is a fact. Because everybody can't be crazy. Whatever you got to do to be on every game, you got to do it. Because
he's still averaging 4 blocks per game right now in the playoffs.
Defensively, I'm going to give him this. Defensively, he has been on basically the entire playoffs. Defensively, he's been on. It's offensively more that he is, takes his steps back and doesn't be as aggressive. It's time to take the bull by the horns. You got to cut, that pushback I was talking about with Anthony Davis? It's time to cut that, AD. You, the person who can do it. Your story's being written right now. You can do that by showing up night in, night out, giving that energy, giving that effort.
It worries me, though, that we have to have conversations about probably at his best is a top 5 player in the NBA. And we got to sit here and talk about his motor even in the playoffs. That shouldn't even be a thing. We shouldn't be talking about this at all. I feel like with Anthony Davis all on, Lakers win this series in 5 or 6, I'll be honest with you. I straight up believe that he has the power to really take LA the whole way. But if he's not going to bring that every single night, you're leaving your team vulnerable. Now, I don't know if they're doing this where LeBron's taking it easy because he wants to go full throttle in the next round or save it for a potential NBA Finals. But these spots aren't guaranteed to you guys. You still got to go out there and win the series, and you're going up against defending champs. So you can't, like you guys say about Boston, you can't play with your food here. So you go into game 4, you got to win. You got to see that same AD, the one that in game 1 absolutely dominated. The one that in game 3, I think he was only 7 for 10 shooting, didn't get a lot of shots up, but still did his thing. So if he's already doing all the work on the defensive side, if LeBron's not going to go out there and be the assertive version of himself that we're so used to seeing, the pressure's on AD. And to John, your favorite player in the NBA, D'Angelo Russell, stepped up.
Just a little bit. Who didn't step up?
Who didn't step up?
Another guard the Warriors paid. His name is Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
2 of 9 from the field. That is something you see on the box score. It's far from the worst thing. The eye test is much worse. Defensively, he's been a wallflower for a while, but he's gotten worse this year than that on the floor. The Warriors paid him, I think it was $140 million. Over $100 million. To be the successor to Steph Curry. Steph every year of his career has gotten better. Whereas Jordan Poole this year has really hit a pretty hard bump in the road. And he's coming off an ankle injury, but in order for them to win this series, which I'm expecting them to, he's going to have to give them at least something. and not be a total tire fire on both ends of the floor, quite frankly, because he's just not getting it going. He's struggling when it comes to getting to the rim because Anthony D was waiting for him. And I expect a lot more out of Jordan because last year they don't win the finals without him. In game 2 or game 3, he has himself 4 3-3s in one half. He gets them a much needed 2. They won that series by going up 2 on the Celtics. That game 3 was what decided for the Warriors. It's because of Jordan Poole coming off the bench and giving them that spark. And this year it hasn't been there. Up until he gets something consistent off their bench, they're going to have a hard time going far this year. It's why they're a different team. The bench has not been the same. And they miss Otto Porter Jr. a lot too. Someone that could space the floor and was going to hold up defensively. If they had him right now starting, to be honest with you guys, we'd be looking at this series a lot differently, be way more comfortable because Otto Porter clears to Michael Green in all due respect.
Well, especially defensively, and he's younger. I think they were hoping again Kuminga was going to take that jump. I know he had a solid. I think that was probably garbage minutes, to be honest. The stuff he got in that game, but they expected him to be a 3-and-D guy and to take over that role. I do want to give a shout out to Moses Moody. He has played well this playoffs. He's making his shots, and they drafted him to be a 3-and-D guy, and he's he can do that. So I'm not worried about the Warriors. This series I think is going to be nip and tuck. I think it's going 7. I still freaking don't know who the hell I'm going to decide. It's probably going to come down to game 7, and I'll make my decision on game 7 when that game happens. But this is a battle. And I just wish the NBA scheduling committee would, give East Coast fans a little bit of a treat. But, I guess we'll go fuck ourselves, right? Moving on to the Celtics versus the 76ers. Is this series over, guys? Are the Celtics headed to the Western Conference Final? Are the Celtics headed to the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yes. I think for Philadelphia, what it really comes down to is that Joel Embiid again is getting failed by his teammates. Joel cannot be blamed for their Game 3 loss. And at this point, I'm sick and tired of it. It's honestly ludicrous to me that James Harden, I guess mouth breathers, think the guy is still the same player was in Houston. He's not. I mean, it's not close. Harden had himself a fantastic game on without Embiid, and you saw in that game, he's gotten better in mid-range. Harden's evolved his game to become a player that's going to get to his spots and use that strength he has to pick it well in mid-range, the way he never did in Houston. But he's also not someone that can get to the rim. He can't explode by players the way he could 3 years ago. And the reason why is because he's a 34-year-old guard that's coming off soft tissue hamstring injuries. He forced his way out of Houston by getting out of shape, and because he wasn't in shape in the playoffs, it led to a grade 2 hamstring sprain, which he tried to play through like a warrior because he's always been a warrior his entire career. And now, 2.5 years later, he's paying the price of that decision. I think that's costing James Harden a couple of years off of his peak. That soft tissue hamstring injury, which, if he were in shape the way he was for all those years in Houston, may not have ever happened. We'll never know the answer to that question. But one thing I do know is that Joel Embiid is being failed again. You look at this team around him. I think they began Tobias Harris going a little bit more than they have. He's a player that needs to get his touches to get into a rhythm. That's kind of what's held him back from being that reliable number 4. But to me, they just don't get enough off the dribble, getting downhill from that backcourt. And while Joel has not been perfect, he struggled at times later on that Brooklyn series. He needs to get something a little bit more than James Harden going 20% every other game, just about every single game on 2-pointers. Like, if this is truly an all-NBA player, a guy that people are propping up to be a top 5 point guard, top 7 point guard right now, a top 25 player, well, then show that to me in the postseason. And honestly, James Harden had himself a monster game. You can make the case the rest of the series, he's going to make the same amount of field goals in the next 4 or 5 games as he did in game 1.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've James Harden is a playoff joker. I've been saying that for years now because, and I'm not saying that to, insult the man or anything. It's what I see on the court, what the stats say, what the box score says. Everything points, all signs point to this man is a playoff choker. He's a generational, transcendent player in the regular season. The man averaged 36 points for a season. That's phenomenal. Nobody's going to take that away. He's an MVP in this league. Some people argue he should be more than one-time MVP. But at the end of the day, when he gets in the playoffs, whatever you want to say, whether it's, he doesn't take care of his body, He breaks down in the playoffs. He gets fatigued. His play style isn't successful in the playoffs. The game is faster in the playoffs, and that doesn't help him out. Whatever you want to say, he has not shown up in the playoffs time in and time out. Again, I'm going to use that saying. This is the rule. Game 1 was the exception, Justin. I'm going to keep saying that until it gets through your thick skull. And you're going to understand that. The exception and the rule. James Harden's rule is he's not going to show up in the playoffs. The exception is he'll have a great game. The 76ers are cooked. Joel Embiid, he's fighting through it. He's playing like a champ. I commend him. Kudos to him.
He should not be out there right now. He's playing well.
No, but like I said, and I've been saying this for months with John too. He didn't give me any credit when he said it, but yeah, they don't use Tobias Harris the right way in this offense. I've been saying that for, this guy can score 17 to 20 points a game. They just don't use him the right way because it's so Joel Embiid centric and James Harden pick and roll. James Harden's probably going to be gone. I don't know about Doc Rivers' future. I don't think Joel Embiid will win a championship as the number one guy. I got to be honest. I think they're probably going to try and make a move. Maybe they try and go get Damian Lillard. I know there's going to be a lot of hype if they do get that, but I still don't think that's enough because I think in the playoffs, either Joel Embiid's going to get hurt, he's going to get sick, or even if he's on the court, I think it's easier to neutralize him, and then you're going to have to worry about the other guys and other guys in rhythm enough. Probably not because you are so Joel Embiid centric.
PJ Tucker was in game 3. Shout to him for taking actually a jump shot.
Tucker, yeah, PJ Tucker. I mean, the guy said apparently he's going as long as LeBron goes, basically. He's saying, I'm not going nowhere until you go somewhere. So get ready because PJ Tucker's going to be here for a while.
When I look at the series, it's clear that Boston is clearly the best team in this on the floor. Each time they go out there. I think game 1 was a big steal for Philadelphia where, you had the advantage there. You took game 1 in Boston and you had Embiid coming back game 2 when you probably should have sat him. But I don't know, man. I don't think that this series is just going to be done in 5. No, I think Philly does end up getting 1. They steal 1 because unlike you guys, while I do understand that James Harden's his past definitely stands out from his postseason experience, but I think we can get 1 game with him and Embiid on flow, and they can steal 1 from Boston. I don't think that it's so easy and so set in stone. I think Philly just needs to step up, man. Other people need to step up because, like you guys said, it's the Embiid show. He can't keep shouldering the load. Other people need to step up for him. If it was that easy that we can all just rely on one person to distribute and score the basketball over and over again, then every team would be successful. But that's not how it works. You need other people to step up. Maxey needs to be better. Harden needs to be better. Every single person on the floor, like you said, Tobias Harris needs more opportunities because this is a guy that you pay a lot of money to step up for you in a big game. Mm-hmm. The series, I believe, is over, but probably in 6. I'm going to give Philly 1 more.
I agree with you. I don't think it ends that badly. But look, man, Boston has done a great job, too, defending Joel. And we've seen this with Grant Williams for a while now. What they've done is always had him and Al Horford working together, whether it's Grant just hitting him with a filthy box out, kind of punching him in the mouth. He's played physical with him. And Grant's one of those guys at 6'6" that is bigger than what he actually is, right? And then I'll allow Horford to get on the glass and do his thing as well. But I'm expecting Boston to continue getting better at supporting cast that is in this setting. My concern with the Celtics comes against a team like Miami that is more physical. They get downhill and they create more opportunities. I think it's a worse matchup for them. For Philly, man, I mean, keep in mind, like Tobias Harris has gotten better as a defender over the years, but he's taking on the assignment of guarding one of the Jays. And that's a pretty tall task for a guy that's not a defensive stopper at the point of attack. And this was a bad matchup for them on the wings. I do want to shout out PJ Tucker, though, because if he continues taking 3 or 4 threes, even if he's not making them, that's just a good look for a guy that's proclaimed as the best corner shooter of all time. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but he's up there. And then off the bench, they've got shooting. They've got good minutes out of McDaniels. Niang has made shots, even if they're not going to get much defensively out of him. They won't. God, no. He's one of the worst defenders in the league. But they're going to get a little bit off that second unit. What it comes down to is the other three starters, because Joel's going to have the ball forced out of his hands. Grant Williams is going to do a stout job making them move it. And Tyrese Maxey, going 4 of 16 in game 3 is unacceptable. Tyrese is looked at as a guy that can be the best player, the best offensive creator in this setting, a playoff setting where you're going to need a high-level guard, and he is way too inconsistent for a third-year guard that's in line to make $100 million this offseason. I'm expecting him to be better as well. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that Harden rubs off on those other guys, and if he's playing poorly, it's going to set up Tyrese Maxey to fail. He's truly not a point guard to me. He's more of a Bungie-style two-guard, Tony Parker-esque, where he's going to finish, he's going to make plays, he's going to get downhill, but ultimately, he is best served with a player like Harden. The theory of Harden, though, is what he's best served with. When Harden can't get by his man, well, now it makes Tyrese Maxey take on that responsibility of also being the point guard at the same time.
Yeah. Isn't it so interesting? Who would have thought before the playoffs started that we are headed for a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals?
Even crazier than that, Brandon, we might see the same exact 4 teams from the bubble 3 years later in the conference finals. The Lakers versus Nuggets and the Heat versus Celtics. I've got the Warriors beating the Lakers personally, but if Anthony Davis and D'Lo continue playing as well as they did yesterday, it's pretty likely we see that rematch again.
Bubble rematch in the finals?
You know the deal.
That'll be kind of sick because everybody keeps saying Bubble Bowl was not legit.
Which we can all agree, the bubble was peak basketball, right?
I don't know about peak basketball, but it definitely was not fraudulent. Anybody who thinks that is a moron, to be honest with you. Because if you say that, basically what you're saying is every sporting event during the pandemic is null and void because they all basically had to deal with similar type conditions. So and nobody's ready to make that statement. So shut the hell up if you're saying the bubble is a fraud.
To be fair, the Lakers got themselves the biggest competitive advantage in the bubble because they needed it more than any other team.
Well, yes, did they get time off? But again, it does. So what? Everybody had to deal with the same. Personally. Everybody had to deal with the same cards, and you had to deal with it, and teams came out. But moving on to the final playoff series, probably the most least interesting one, but maybe not now. Suns Nuggets.
It's interesting now, huh?
Suns win game 3. Justin, I think you picked the Suns to win this series.
I did.
Did the Suns make a comeback?
I did pick the Suns to win the series, but still, I'm not pleased with it. I mean, didn't Devin Booker and Kevin Durant combine for about 87 to 90 points together? That's
86.
Yes.
Unbelievable. But that's the thing. You can't rely on that every night. DeAndre Ayton had how many points?
4.
He's a wuss.
4 points.
To be honest with you, though, that's kind of scoring is not what they need from him. But
I get that, but relying that much on those two guys with CP off the, I mean, they did their job, but that is such an exhausting brand of basketball. Just hoping that both of those guys are always going to be on. It really does feel like the series is over. It was a nice win. We expected them to steal one. Nobody expected them to just get swept because we have too much respect for KD, Book, even CP, even though he wasn't on the floor. But if you're expecting that game in and game out and nobody else is going to step up from your bench, no, that was toast. That was your one win. So I need to see CP on the floor again to say that Phoenix hasn't.
Look, Devin Booker. I'm sorry, man. You have responded, my friend, to last year's embarrassment of a second-round series versus the Mavericks. That's what great players do. He's always been one of the most controlled guards in the league, and it feels like nothing speeds him up. Everything is under control. 45 points while missing just 5 shots from the field. You know how hard it is to get 45 with just 1 free throw? He is just one of 2 players in NBA history to drop 45 or more points, and this is some ESPN-type stats, believe me, on 80% shooting or better. The only other player was Dirk Nowitzki in Game 1 back in 2011 versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, where he got 48 points, but he got to the foul line 24 times. So half of his points were at the charity stripe, and I think he made every single foul shot in that game, by the way, which is like utterly absurd. That's something Dirk would do. But Devin Booker is reaching that top 10 level. I remember saying Shea was better than him in the regular season this year. I'm like, dude, this guy D-Book has responded. And I kind of forgot how good he can be. I didn't know he could be this good. I mean, he is handled. Think about all that Devin Booker has had to overcome. In our last show, we talked about their draft mistakes. He has to deal with DeAndre and Crown like a baby on the sidelines after he can't dunk, grab a rebound, or play physical. He has to deal with Landry Shamet getting 20 minutes per game, who's probably the worst rotation player in the league. Kevin Durant dropped the ugliest 39-point game I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. He still had a great game. But Devin Booker has to overcome Chris Paul getting injured. His starting center down the stretch being Jacques Landale. Did you guys know who Jacques Landale was coming into this year? Me neither. I mean, this is the type of stuff that Devin Booker has to deal with. And yet he is still keeping this team afloat. In game 2, they could have won that game if Chris Paul didn't get hurt. They're starting to figure something out. He's got to deal with Monty Williams' nonsense rotations. He finally played TJ Warren. And what happened? You won the game because TJ Warren down the stretch hit 3 huge jumpers. Devin Booker has to overcome all of that. I'm sorry, Devin. You're becoming that guy. I don't want to call you a superstar because last year versus Mavericks was ugly. But I do think looking at a series like this guy can be a top 10 player, man. He's been the second best player of this postseason. He's lived up to the task. We forget this is just his 3rd playoff run. I mean, what Devin Booker is doing right now is special. It's truly awesome to see. And as a Booker fan, I grew up watching him on a Suns team that starting point guard was Isaiah Cannon. And everybody labeled him as a empty stats volume scorer. And at first, he kind of was that. But over time, he's gotten better, rounded out his skill set. And at 26 years old, he's far and away the best shooting guard in the league. Donovan Mitchell is not in his class. Look at Mitchell the last 2 years in the playoffs. What has he done? He got bounced both times this round.
Yeah.
Couldn't even get 2 games. Booker, meanwhile, is doing the superstar thing.
Yeah, listen, I don't think Devin Booker is a superstar, but I will say he has all the capabilities of being a superstar or being a top 10 player, 100%. Listen, this game was a game where you say the Suns will get you one. You know, D-Book and KD will get you one, right? But that's pretty much it. I mean, shout out to Nikola Jokic, 30, 17, and 17. What the fuck is that? What is that?
Quiet night, Brandon.
This guy, quiet night. I mean, I expect a little bit more. This guy can't even like I think Shannon Sharp uses this phrase. This guy can't even jump on a curb. All right, and he's out here dominating at the highest level of professional basketball. This is special. But yeah, I don't see the Suns winning another game. They got their one. I see the Nuggets going. You can't sustain this with D-Book and KD playing 40-plus minutes a night. It's not going to work, especially with Chris Paul going down. It's just not going to work. And I was laughing when John said, "Did you guys even know who Landale was before this series?" And I said no. And then I just thought of the quote of Shaq. "I'm sorry, kid. I'm not familiar with your game." But yeah, this series is over. I expect it to be done in 5. Denver's going to beat them in 4. They're going to go to Denver, and they're probably going to get blown out in Denver because you can't sustain that minutes, especially in that mile high. And I'm going to be honest with you right now. The Lakers and Warriors, that Denver series is going to be much tougher than I initially thought because of that mile high city factor that I forgot to think about. The Warriors are an older team. LeBron is an older player. AD doesn't recover as well. That's going to be tough to go through. Now, I do fully expect, if the Lakers get through, AD should be able to dominate Jokic on the offensive end. He should be able to get whatever he wants. And I think Anthony Davis is going to make it a little bit of a troubling for Jokic. I expect Jokic to still get his, but AD can make him work. And on the Warrior side, it's going to be tough for the Denver guys to be guarding Steph and Klay the entire night. But also, you're going to start breathing heavy in Denver. I'm telling you that you're going to start breathing that heavy. So either series is going to be something special to behold. And I tweeted this out when round 2 started, right? Because I do believe, in my opinion, the best player in the world title is still up for grabs. I don't have a best player in the world right now. I haven't for a little bit. It's up for grabs, and I think the Western Conference is really where it's going to be grabbed. I tweeted out, I know John doesn't want to hear this, but Kevin Durant versus Jokic, and then on the other side, LeBron versus Steph Curry. Well, we might have to change a couple things of that. Anthony Davis might be taking LeBron's spot.
He has.
And now we're going Jokic to the finals. Jokic is in contention for, if they win the championship, probably going to have to give this man his flowers as the best player in the league. If the Lakers go, Anthony Davis, Warriors, Steph Curry, and then maybe, on the Eastern side, if this guy gets it done, how do you deny? How do you deny what he did? It's very, as I should I say, maybe sacrilegious, Dwayne Wade-esque.
2006. Can I tell you something, though, Brent? Yeah, the altitude is a big deal, but so is having the greatest offensive center in NBA history. That's what Jokic is. And this Denver team is different than last year.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon, he went 3 of 13 in game 3. That was one of the best 3 of 13 games I've seen in my life. Defensively, that guy is all over the floor because the Suns want to run a million pick and rolls a game, right? Booker is going to try to get Jokic the hedge. He succeeded in such. That's why you need a wing that can rotate and he'll scramble. Gordon has the athleticism, but also the reaction time, the acceleration. He just darts to the rim. But guys, Michael Porter Jr. right now, holy shit, dude, he is taking that step. I know a lot of people aren't hyping him up right now, which is kind of funny. They were hyping him up back when he was mostly a shooter. That guy needs a larger role in this Denver offense. His three-point shooting is absurd. And he's getting so many good looks because who's guarding him? Their possessions campaign was matched up on him. Michael Porter Jr. 6'10", and defensively, he is leaving Josh Okogie, and he has been an absolute deterrent all series long. He is playing his best defense of his life. He's getting downhill, recovering from a lumbar spine surgery. The lumbar is a kind of the part of your spine that you need the most, and he is playing his best ball right now. Now, I do think for Denver, they need Christian Brown, their rookie, to not be, chaotic on every single drive he makes. But this team is very big. And I think against the Lakers or any of these teams, they have the size, the Warriors too, to disrupt you. Christian Brown, 6'7". Jeff Green was terrible in game 3, but he's been pretty good this postseason. He's 6'8". You've got Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown and KCP are their 2 smallest guys, and they're 6'4" and 6'5", right? I like this Denver team a lot moving forward, but I do think the Suns will get one more game because of how on fire Devin Booker has been. I don't know if they're going to make it a 7-game series, but look, man, the Nuggets don't have an answer for that guy. And in game 3, KCP all game long was losing him too. I was like, dude, you can't guard this man. He was losing him in transition. There was one play in the second quarter where 30 seconds left. Maybe it was the third. There's 30 seconds left, and the Suns are taking the ball up. So they're going to go for the 2-for-1, right? And KCP sees Devin Booker taking it up. It doesn't even think to himself, oh, wait, he's going to pull up here for a step in 3. Doesn't step up. Devin Booker just drains it. I'm like, you've been in the league for like 12 years, my guy. What are you thinking? But KCP will be better moving forward. I expect Nikola Jokic to dominate Jacques Landale.
Yeah.
Guys, Jamal Murray has been great this postseason, coming off a torn ACL. But if he can't bury Landry Shaman on drives, maybe it's time to get the ball to Nikola Jokic because he is the best offensive player in the team by a wide margin. And, I don't think Jamal Murray failing to post up Landry Shaman's the best source of offense for Denver either. That really cost them game 3, I think, along with them just not making shots, man. I think, Brandon, one thing you're kind of alluding to is that game 3 they play like shit. They're not going to shoot 33% often from 3-point range. Outside of Michael Porter, they made 4 threes total as a team. Yeah. They're going to shoot better moving forward in this series. And the reason why will be because Jokic is going to get more opportunities in the post and at the both the low block and top of the key.
Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. was the only guy to make more than 1 3 for the team. So, and I don't expect that to continue. His shot will start falling. Caldwell Pope, his shot will start falling. So, yeah, I expect the Denver Nuggets are Western Conference Finals bound.
Yeah, if you would have told me that, if you showed me a stat line of Jokic's game last time, I think he had 30, 17, and 17. If you showed me that and told me who won the game, I'm going to say the Nuggets. But I like I said prior to this, I think you're asking way too much out of KD and Devin Booker. And as spectacular as they are on the offensive end, and KD even doing his thing on the defensive side of the ball, it's just not going to be enough to stop what the Nuggets are throwing at you. There's just too many people out there, too much depth. They can beat you with their starting 5, and they can beat you with their rotational players. It's not fair.
Get this, right? The big 3, quote unquote, for Denver: Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and Jokic.
Don't air quote it ever again.
All chill out. All They combined for a total of 83 points. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant combined for 86.
Yeesh.
I don't expect that to happen again. So, yeah, Denver in 5.
And also, DeAndre needs to grow up a little bit too, because it's pretty embarrassing. That's what I did as a freshman in high school, and I struggled. DeAndre is 7 feet tall. He can't be pouty on the sidelines, but he's not playing well. I'm expecting DA to play better. And if he doesn't play better, we're going to start calling the guy a bust. It's as simple as that. He is too good of a player to be putting his head down, struggling to dunk the ball on Jamal Murray. He's not trying to dunk. He needs to play better in the series. If he can play better, Brand, I think he'll be closer as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. I like I said, I expect DeAndre, and he's probably not going to be a Phoenix Sun next season. But that wraps it up for the NBA talk. Or is there anything else you guys want to add, or?
I did have one thought. So before I touch my worst playoff performers of all time, we don't have to talk about that. How would you guys rank the best playoff performances so far this postseason? Do you have a list of performances? Because I do personally.
Like singularity,
singular games.
Oh, singular game. Okay.
So here's some of the options. Jimmy Butler's 56-point game, Game 4 versus the Bucks. I think we can all agree that was the best game this postseason. Yeah. Ahead of Steph Curry's 50-point Game 7 victory versus the Kings.
Yeah, because Jimmy was much more efficient from the field. Yeah.
And he also defensively, he was guarding Giannis and Brook Lopez at the same time.
And the team he was facing level of competition. Yeah.
With 0 turnovers.
Yes.
He's
and no Tyler Hero.
Basketball savant.
That was what because I said it on the show. That is literally arguably one of the greatest playoff performances of all time in NBA history.
The two-way ceiling of Jimmy Butler is all time.
Yeah.
How about Anthony Davis's Game 1 in round 1 where he had this was round 2. How about Anthony Davis's round 2? How about Anthony Davis's round 2 Game 1 versus the Warriors where he had 30 points, 23 rebounds, and 5 assists with a pair of blocks, 3 blocks. That or Devin Booker's 47-point performance in Game 3 where he made all but 5 shots, just Game 1 of 3 throughout the entire night.
Go ahead, Justin.
I don't think it's much of a debate. I think context matters here. I think Miami going up against the 1 seed, Jimmy Butler showing out there, Game 4 dropping 50 plus, and then you know what? We're talking about the 50 plus. I believe the next game he drops 40.
Correct.
So I got to give it to Jimmy Butler. I respect the guy a ton. I mean, going into that series with obviously you're back against the wall. You lose Tyler Hero early. Granted, they lose Giannis, but you're still going up against the number 1 seed Bucks. I think you got to give it to Jimmy. Everything that he did in that game, the shots were ridiculous. Everything was going in. The guy's a menace, man. That's probably the best playoff performance that we've seen thus far this year. And granted, AD did his thing. That's a Game 1.
Yeah, number 2 for me would be Steph's 50-point game. We go Jimmy, then Steph's 50. Number 3, if you're telling me it's between AD and D-Book's game, it's tough. I'll probably give it to Book because it's going to probably be their one game that they won.
I think, I agree with you. I would have Devin Booker's game at 3, and then Anthony Davis was at 4. Number 5, man, another guy that was awesome this postseason was De'Aaron Fox. He had 36. He had 2 38-point games, and one of the 38-point games, Game 4. Keep in mind, he dropped 38 guys with a what type of finger injury was it? It was an opposing fracture.
Yeah,
and his pinky finger on his shooting hand. Like De'Aaron Fox's postseason was incredible. If memory serves, the second most points per game for any player in his first playoff series. That guy's becoming a playoff star in every sense. Like John Morant.
What's crazy is, I mean, it sucks because Denver lost, but I feel like 30, 17, and 17 would be talked about a lot more if they won that game.
Yeah,
because it doesn't happen. Like that doesn't just happen. That's almost 30, 20, and 20. Like that is
nuts. A quiet night though at the office.
Nutsos.
I would say,
quiet night.
I would say Brandon Jokic's best game this postseason was Game 4, where they went to overtime and also lost. And keep in mind, first the Timberwolves. The guy dropped 41 points, was 5-8 from 3-point range. That probably wasn't his best one though. It might have been the game where he dropped 24-19. I mean, his stat lines are pretty ridiculous, but he's had a couple of monster games this postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great playoff performances this season. You forget about Kawhi's 2 games, and then he took his early exit. That was incredible. It was looking like he was going to go on a run of one of the better playoff performances of his career, and that's saying something. That we've been delivered a lot of treats this NBA playoffs, and that's why I keep saying all the time.
James Harden's game 1. Also.
James Harden's game 1 too. Yep, that was his best playoff performance.
I forgot about Harden's game 1.
Yeah, because he's just put around so many stinkers that you forget.
So where would James Harden's game 1 40-some odd point performance go down in that list? Would that be number 3, or would Devin Booker's game be number 3?
I would say, I would say James Harden's would be 4. Oh, you'd say above Devin Booker's? I thought Booker's was more impressive. 20 and 25, dude. That's.
Yeah, well, I don't think James Harden's was that much different. How many shots did James Harden miss that night?
I believe he made 17
of 30 or 17 of something. But it wasn't as efficient as Devin Booker's. That's the only reason I say that. Both contexts, they both matter because Book was down CP3, and Harden was down Joel Embiid. But again, context matters. Justin, James Harden's was game 1. Biggest steal out game, and Devin Booker's was game 3, down 2-0, must-win game. You have to win this game. I know we don't expect them to win the series, but you still have to win that game. I would say Books would be number 3, then James Harden's 4, and then AD's 5.
I go James Harden for the simple fact that there were so many crunch time moments where he was stepping up, playing behind, and knocking down those big threes to bring his team right back into the fold, whereas, the Suns play with the lead. So I don't know. I just think those big moments right there, catapulting your team back, just elevate them just a little bit. You good, John?
Yeah, I'm good. So I think that wraps up everything for the NBA portion of this episode, right?
Yes, sir.
BC, you're muted. And James Harden in the playoffs.
Sorry, nothing going on in football, right? Nobody's seen anything. I don't think anything's going on.
You're saying in the notes there's something on Tyreek Hill happened there.
Tyreek. Well, this was a while ago that Tyreek said that he was going to walk away from the game after 2025. So, yeah, that was
tense.
Yeah. That would mess up the Miami Dolphins things if you lose Tyreek Hill like that. But that's a couple years away from right now. But yeah, let's just get into it. UFC 288 from New Jersey. We had the main event, the fight in which this. Oh my God, Jonathan, are you okay? The fight in which this card was built around Aljamain Sterling, the champion, taking on Henry Cejudo, the challenger, for the bantamweight championship. Oh man, this actually, first off, I wanted to, because I just saw this. Apparently, it's our buddy's birthday today, guys. So I just want to give a shout out to JQ. Happy birthday, JQ. I just saw that.
Happy birthday, JQ.
Yeah, on our Facebook. So just shout out JQ, and we're trying to get him on. We're possibly going to have him on maybe this upcoming week, Thursday's episode. We still have to talk to him about it, but JQ will be on very soon, back with us. But back to UFC 288, the main event, Cejudo and Aljo. Listen, I got that nervous feeling in my stomach, the butterflies in my stomach before the fight, and I tweeted out before that. It's that nervous feeling. It's I can't explain it. It's hard to explain. And even Joe Rogan, John Anik, and DC we're talking about it right before the fight, where they're like, it's the best feeling in sports. There's nothing more like it than that nervous feeling before a big time fight. So how do I want to attack this, right? So basically, right off the gate, I disagreed with the final judging of this fight. I'm not going to call it a robbery because I think that word is thrown around way too much in the mixed martial arts community. I'm not going to call it. It was a very, very close fight. It was a split decision for a reason. But I'll go through it with you. Round 1, I thought Henry won the first portion of that round. It started off, they started feeling each other out. Aljo was kind of taking the center of the octagon, pressuring Henry, and I didn't like that a lot. I thought Henry, when he was going forward, and he did this later on in the fight, throughout the fight, actually, I should say, he was the one who was pressuring Aljo. But he was able to get an early takedown. Not controlled for very long, but had control. The takedown he got was a beautiful takedown. It was just, Olympic gold medal type shit. But the second half of that round, Henry kind of took his foot off the gas, and Aljo won the second half of that round, especially with able to get a takedown and almost get the back, basically, which is where Aljo shines brightest. I thought it was a close-ass round. I really didn't know who to give it to, but in retro, I gave that one to Aljo just because towards the Henry didn't do. I thought Aljo kind of won the first minute of that round, then Henry kind of took a little bit of that, and then Aljo won the end portion of that round. So I gave that one to Aljo. Round 2, Cejudo really showed me that he was the better striker than Aljamain Sterling. In my opinion. And I know, throughout the fight, when they were going back to their corners, Aljo's side was saying, listen, this guy's just throwing winging shots. You're better than him. You're hitting it better than I didn't see that. I honestly did not see. I saw Henry being able to find the spots, hit harder, land the bigger shots, to be honest with you, more precise. I know Henry's face had more damage than Aljo's, but listen, some people wear damage more than others. Nate Diaz is one of the toughest MFers in the game. He gets cut up like crazy because it's just your skin tissue after years. It can, everybody's skin is different. So Aljo might have tougher skin than Henry, and just because it's messed up, it doesn't mean that Henry wasn't landing the harder shots or the better shots, in my opinion. He landed 2 nice high kicks that got Aljo's attention in that round. But I will say this, and maybe this is where they were seeing that he was winging shots. Henry was having trouble with the reach and the size of Aljo. He was, especially when they got into the clinch and Aljo. I think the main point of why Aljo was able to get those takedowns, he wasn't able to secure him for very long. Henry was able to get back up pretty quickly. But Henry, being a kind of pure 125er, being 5'4", having a 64-inch reach, I believe, to Aljo's. I think Aljo's 5'7". He cuts from like 155, which is crazy. And he's got a 71-inch reach. Henry was having a little bit of trouble with that size and reach. He was trying to find the spots, and he was at times. It's just, certain times in the fight, he just couldn't find his path. And I do want to, I usually don't say this about the commentary, but it seemed like they went so much into recency bias. And what I mean by that is, if Aljo was kind of doing something towards the end of the round or doing something right in front of them at the time, they would kind of basically ignore what happened before that. And even Joe Rogan spoke to it. He says, I usually favor the guy who's on top or winning towards the end of the round. And that is the literal definition of recency bias, because it's not about just the end of the round. It's the entirety of the round you have to score. I just wanted to talk about that. But I thought Henry landed the bigger shots and won the majority of round 2. Going into round 3, again, I thought Henry won the majority of the striking exchanges. I thought getting the takedown at the end was major, and I thought that secured round 3 for him. Aljo had a moment in the middle of the round where he was able to get a takedown, not for very long, and Henry was able to get back up. I don't think that did enough for him to win round 3 to me. I thought Henry again once again showed he was the better striker. He was landing bigger shots, the cleaner shots, in my opinion. And then moving on to round 4 and 5 were, to me, the clearest rounds for who you wanted to score to. Round 4 for me was clearly Aljo's round. Henry pressured him. He controlled the center of the octagon, but he wasn't throwing. He wasn't active enough. Aljo, while being on his back foot, was more active this round than Henry. So I clearly gave this round to Aljo. So I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round. This is how I had the fight scored. And then the 5th round, to me, was very clearly Henry Cejudo's best round. Just like round 4 was clearly Aljo's best round, round 5 was clearly Henry Cejudo's best round. I thought he showed the fighting spirit of a champion and what a champion does, and that show up in the championship rounds. I know round 4 is the championship round. He didn't show up, but round 5, that penultimate round, 2-2 going in the 5th, showing up, landing the bigger shots, pressuring, chasing. I thought Henry showed the fighting spirit of that. And I thought he won round 5, and I thought they gave him the edge, winning 3 rounds to 2. And he should have got the nod at the end. That's not what happened. I just want to pull up this real quick, the scorecards for last night, because this is what's, where do I have it? Oh, it's on my iPad. This is what was crazy to me. I didn't know this until listening to the post-fight press conference early this morning, which I had barely any sleep because of a late night, but that's neither here nor there. So the first judge, Michael Bell, scored the contest 48-47 for Henry. He had Henry winning 2, 3, and 5, like me. Then you had Eric Colon scoring the contest for Aljo. Aljo winning 1, 2, and 4. Then Derek Clearly. This one shocked me when I heard this. He had Aljo winning the fight. He had Aljo winning 1 and 4. Fine, that's how I scored it. But he had Aljo winning round 5, which to me was, I don't know what you were watching. If you go back and watch round 5, Henry pretty much, maybe a couple exchanges here and there, I won't say dominated because that's too strong of a word, but basically controlled that round and won the majority of that round. So Derek Clearly, in my opinion, scoring that round 5 for Aljo, that screwed Henry Cejudo out of a championship. Now, I'm not calling it a robbery. I'm calling that decision right there in round 5, that fucked Henry Cejudo. That screwed him. Because if the round that everybody basically, I think you can watch the fight and see, score round 5 for Henry. And you're the only guy, the only jabroni out there that scored it for Aljo. You screwed Henry Cejudo out of 3+ year layoff, fighting the champion, 36 years old, back against the wall because of that record that I told you out there, 2-28. You screwed him. You did. And apparently this was brought up. He's the same judge that scored a split decision loss for Henry early in his career, Joseph Benavidez, for Benavidez. That's 2 times. I'm not going to call, maybe this guy's got some, but I'm just saying listen, these judges hold, when it goes to decision, these judges hold a lot of these guys' career in the palm of their hands. And they have to be certain. And I don't think you can certainly say round 5 was scored for Aljamain Sterling. And this is why I've always wanted referees should be able to speak up for their scorecards. They should have to go up at the post-fight press conference and speak to the media.
Like an NBA official.
Yes, and handle the judges.
Because an NBA official, like when an NBA official is making a challenge review, they'll actually speak to the booth, the broadcasters, and you'll hear on television the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
But it feels like for Derek Clearly, he may not be seeing clearly, but also at the same time, there's not much accountability for how much responsibility the judges have. No
accountability because they're able to score the card and then walk out of the venue like nothing happened. And I'm not saying, they have to speak to the crowd and people right then and there. I'm taking post-fight press conference like the fighters do, and Dana White goes up there and speaks and handles the fire, the heat. They should go up there because you hold these fighters' careers in the palm of your hands when it goes to decision. And your decision, scoring round 5, which was clearly for Henry Cejudo, for giving it to Aljo, that screwed Henry Cejudo out of history-making shit. You lost him a fight with Sugar Sean O'Malley, which might be his biggest payday of his career. And then you lost him out if he got through Sugar, which a lot of people probably would have favored him against because Sugar's wrestling is a little bit suspect. Screwing him out of history-making, going up to 145, becoming the first ever guy to win 3 division weight champions in MMA history. So yes, accountability needs to be taken into this case. I don't see how you score round 5 for Aljamain Sterling. I really don't see it. I don't want to call it a robbery. The entire fight wasn't a robbery. It was a very close fight. I'm saying that, but round 5 being scored for Aljo, that screwed Henry Cejudo.
One thing I want to ask you, Brandon, you talked before about how Aljo had a 7-inch reach advantage. Was it almost like Henry couldn't be more aggressive because of that extra fly zone that Aljo had? Or no, he could have just been more aggressive, and given he was coming off a 3-year layoff, it was a great performance by him, truly, and I was blown away with how good of a fight it was, but it wasn't enough, quite frankly, given his aggression toward the end.
Yeah, round one, he spoke about this. Round one, he thought he could have been more aggressive in the second half of that round. He kind of let Aljo get away from that, and that could have been major because round one was scored all the way through for Aljamain Sterling. So if he was able to have, not took his foot off the gas, we're having a different discussion because he wins round four. Excuse me. It's tough when you're going up against a guy with a longer reach. You have to be more careful. But what also does play into the shorter reaches guy's advantage is when you do get close. When you get super close, your punches are much more, able to land. While the guy with the longer reach, the punches are going to go around you.
Quicker with it.
Yeah, even if they do land, the power's not really going to be there because they've got no space to throw. And it's all about getting inside. When you have the shorter reach, you have to get inside. And that's what he was having trouble getting inside at times. He was able to land some really nice shots, but it's just at times he was having a little bit of trouble. And yes, the 3-year layoff probably played a factor into that. If he was more active, maybe this fight isn't 3-2. Maybe it's 4-1 for Henry. Maybe he doesn't put his foot. Maybe he does put his foot on the gas in round one and doesn't let that get away. So yeah, I hope Henry does stick around because I think the sport is better when Henry Cejudo's around, and I think he still has it. I don't think he's lost it. I think a lot of people believe he won this fight, and with that thought into it, I don't think he should walk away. Now he's spoken a lot after the fight, saying if you ain't first, you're last. I do this shit for championships and legacy. I'm not here just to fun fight or whatever the hell you want to do. I'm here for legacy and champions. And he's going to have a discussion with his family. He's going to sit down and he's going to decide if he wants to come back. This is a little bit of a derailment, but I do truly believe if Aljo if the rematch presents itself, I do think Henry can win a rematch because I think he'd be much more prepared. I thought a lot of his game plans were very smart. I thought when he was able to get Aljo down, being able to grind on that neck, which I don't know if you guys know, but that neck was surgically repaired for Aljo. So being able to grind, I thought that played a major factor where Aljo was a lot more stiffer later in the round. He looked a little bit more tired and gassed, especially with the weight cut too that he has to take. I thought that was smart and very genius game plan by Henry, being able to grind on that neck. But yeah, it's just more active in round one. And more active in round four. Those are the round. If he was more active in 1 and 4, I believe he could have won this 5-0. I'm not saying he did, but I'm just saying if he was more active in those rounds, to me, it would have been a 5-0 sweep. Henry Cejudo still has it. I hope he doesn't leave. Sport's better when he's around. But if it is, tip my hat to Henry Cejudo. He still is, for me, a top 10 mixed martial artist of all time. And a hell of a career for him. But moving on, we got Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean O'Malley for the title. That's a big fight. Sugar's first ever main event, first ever title shot. He is the next big thing. It's a big time fight. Dana alluded possibly August in Boston. So that's going to be a scene to see. Aljo has already said, "Listen, I'm finishing that guy in under a round." So we're going to see. It's going to be fireworks when that fight happens. Can't wait. And then the co-main event was a little bit of an unfortunate event. Gilbert Burns apparently tore his shoulder in the second round of the fight in a scramble, and he wasn't able to throw the left basically the entire rest of the fight. Bilal won a unanimous decision. Congrats to Bilal. I'm not taking anything away from him. They both these guys took the fight on short notice. Both had their factors that they had to deal with and overcome coming into this fight. Bilal got the nod. It wasn't very exciting. It was pretty lackluster, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think it was a win that is the one that you stamp an approval. I am next for the championship. But because they took it on short notice and Dana already said the winner of this fight is fighting the winner of Colby versus Leon, Bilal has secured his shot, fighting for the championship next. So kudos to him. And then, finishing out Yang Xiaonan, she knocked out Jessica Andrade, former champion. It's looking like they're going to be going towards Yan versus Weili Zhang, possibly in China versus China. 2 fighters. That's going to be big time. Yeah, Justin's all like, oh. So that's going to be big time. That's going to be massive over there in China. Ivalov, short notice win. This guy's 17-0. He just keeps winning, keeps grinding it out. Chrome Gracie was pretty disappointing in his performance in the first fight of the night. It just didn't look like he really even trained or took it very seriously, and that was pretty disappointing. But overall, listen, for me, the main event was worth the price of admission. I know I said this fight wasn't really worth the $80 they're charging now, because especially with the fights that have gone on in the past couple months with Jones and Adesanya and all them. But the main event was a success for me. It's great to have Henry back, and we're on to the next pay-per-view for UFC 289 is in the country of Canada. They're back in Canada. Okay. That crowd is going to be rocking and wilding. They are one of the best crowds in the entire world. So I'm excited for that. The GOAT, Amanda Nunes, is coming back to defend her championship. Can't wait for that.
It's big time. That's pretty cool. But yeah, man, I was definitely very boring outside of the premiere fight, thankfully. Yeah. But that was a pretty awesome fight. I enjoyed watching it. I wish it was a emphatic knockout at the ending, but it was still one of the best non-knockout performances by each of the 2 sides.
Yes. But that basically wraps up episode 100, guys. We've been doing this for 100 episodes. Next month will be a whole year as we've been doing this thing. We've been love doing it with you guys. We love that, we're growing. We're trying to create a family. We're trying to create a community. I'm excited for the future. This is incredible. Listen, this is just what I love to do. Talk sports, bullshit, shoot the shit. I love it. Miami's going to beat the crap out of the Knicks. That's a great thing. That's a great thing to see. It's a beautiful thing. Lovely. It's lovely. It's lovely to see. But any thoughts on you guys? Final thoughts for the show?
I do want to thank all the viewers who have tuned in. If you haven't already, drop a like on the stream. I'm looking at the wrong camera. But also, I want to let you guys know, if you haven't seen already, we have launched a Patreon account. We've now done 100 episodes, technically 102. On 2 of them, I forgot to hit the record button. But here's the big thing. If you want to get more content, such as Q&A access for shows, video shoutouts every single episode, even a guest spot potentially by joining our Discord server, shopping up shop with us. You can even get some of my NBA articles. I'm going to be making about 2 to 4 per month, probably around 3, I would say. And the off season, I'm going to be pumping out a lot of NBA previews, maybe some for NFL too. I'm not too sure yet, but you can get all of that content for as little as $1 or $2 a month while supporting the show if you would like. If you don't want to, you can just share the show with friends, hit a like, continue to support us, but we want to let you know about that if you want to get some exclusive content. And as always, we enjoy doing the show. It's just going to allow us to continue doing it, and it'll help us continue to grow the show in time.
Not to romanticize the moment here, 100 episodes is spectacular. I've attempted this podcast stuff before with a buddy of mine in college, and you know how many episodes we got? 3. So getting to 100, seeing the commitment from you guys, it all means the world to me. And for the people that watch us, that follow us on social media, we appreciate you guys. Even when you guys are crapping on us in the comments, we love it. Keep following, keep liking, keep commenting, keep subscribing, whether it be positive or negative. We're all here for it. It's a part of this. Guys, we love you. I appreciate you guys always. To 100 more.
Yep. And listen, just want to say one last thing. We want to build this. We want to, start a fantasy football league, help play, Madden or 2K with people. I'll scrape any of you guys in 2K. I'm a little rusty. Maybe I haven't played, but, y'all can get it. Y'all can get it.
He can't beat a diamond press, John.
Hey, come on, man. Don't do that. It's diamond press. It's all about scoring in the paint, baby, and shooting them threes. But it's been a great time. Episode 100 in the books, 100 down, like Justin said, to 100 more. And that's all from us. I've been Brandon Capozziello. That was John Tortorelli. He was Justin Ray. I'm sorry if that was.
It's the opposite on my side.
It is the opposite.
Justin hit us with it.
Hey, we love you guys. Stay classy.
Till next time.